So we are going to get this Epson EcoTank unboxed, and we are going to be converting this over to sublimation printing. This is not a sublimation printer, so this is definitely a sublimation hack. Now, when we convert this Epson EcoTank over to sublimation, it does void the warranty, so be sure to keep that in mind. The first thing you're going to do is get this ink away from the printer. This is the ink that came in the box. We are not using this ink. We're going to be using sublimation ink. I do have another printer, an Epson EcoTank, that I use for my daily printing, so this ink isn't going to go to waste. I'll use it on that printer. So we are going to be following the instructions for getting this printer set up. So I'm going to bring the instructions out. The one thing to be sure to do is to only use sublimation ink. So that is a step on the directions that we are going to change because we are not going to add the ink that comes with this machine. So I've got my printer in place here. I actually stack my Epson EcoTanks. The black one is the one that I use for daily regular printing, and the white one is the one that we're going to be setting up here. This is the ink that I'm going to be adding to this printer. It is Hippo Sublimation ink. That's just my choice of ink. There are different brands of sublimation ink. I'll have a link below for this Hippo. So the first step was to hook up the power cable. So I have that done. So that step was to hook up the power cable, but we do not turn the printer on yet. So the next step, it says on step 2, is choose a setup method. I do not want to use my phone, so I am choosing to use the computer setup. And here it says to skip forward to filling the tanks. So we are skipping forward to number 3. So here is the fill tank. So you open up this door here, and it is right under this. And so you can see they're all marked black, cyan, magenta, and yellow. And so we're going to make sure that we're filling these with the proper colors. And this is sublimation ink that we're putting in here. This is the kind of ink bottle that you're going to want to get. It's got this handy dandy filler for these EcoTanks, and it fits really, really well. So we're going to be doing the black first. So you just open up that, and you can see that it fits right in there. So let's see if I can get this in there. So you just pop it in here like this. You give it a light push down, and it is going to start filling. So you can maybe hear this doing its glug, glug, glug. It's filling up that tank. And so you can see that down here, that the black tank is getting full. So that stopped on its own. So when I heard it stop filling, I just took that one off, and you can see that it shows that it's full. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to do the same thing for the colors. Make sure you put the right color in the right container here. And here is the yellow going in. And you can see that it is filling. So I'm going to leave this go until it gets full. Be sure to close these color tabs tightly. And now we're on to the magenta, and it is filling that tank. And the last one that I'm filling is the blue. So now all of the tanks are full, and so I'm going to close this cover. I made sure that all of these lids are tight. And I'm just going to close that cover, and then you can see that my tank is full. Now the next step is to power on the printer. So now I have pressed the start button, and we'll wait to see where the language is. So we're going to select that. The next step on the screen is finish setting up using the Epson Smart Panel app. It's a question, and I do not want to set it up with the Smart Panel app, so I am selecting no. So then the display screen says that it is preparing. So now it's telling us to go back to the startup sheet. So that's what I'm going to do. And on the startup sheet, it says when the message says to see the Start Here sheet, on the LCD screen, you press and hold the question mark button for 5 seconds. So that's our next step. And on my machine, here is that question mark button. So I'm going to push that for 5 seconds, and that's going to start charging the ink. So we're going to start the initialization. We want to confirm that the tank is filled with ink. So I'm going to hit start. So the screen and the written instructions tell me that the ink charging is going to take about 11 minutes. So I'm going to let it do its thing, and I'm going to step away for a while. So now I printed the alignment page, and it's asking if there are any missing segments. And yes, there are. You can see it. So I'm going to hit yes and then continue. So after finishing those alignment sheets, it is time to install the software. And like I said, I choose to use a printer cable, which is not included with the machine. And I am going to be using the printer cable for printing and also for setting up my software. So I followed the directions for using the direct USB connection, or what they call the printer cable. So I have installed the software just as it asked to. You have to know, what kind of computer you're putting it on and everything. And I use the USB printer cable. I have talked about that before. That is something that I prefer. I prefer to print my sublimation connected and not wireless. So I did download my software that way. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to try my first print. So I'm going to go to File for this. I'm going to go to print here for my printer options. And now this is my new printer that I just hooked up, the Epson EcoTank 2840. So I'm going to go under printer properties here. And I want to make sure that I have premium presentation paper matte selected. And I want high quality. This is the first time going through this since I set it up. So now I'm going to go under more options here. I'm going to turn bidirectional or high speed off, whatever yours says. And I want to mirror my image for this because it's sublimation. And now I'm going under image options. And this is just a preference of mine. I like to emphasize more and emphasize thin lines. So now I'm ready to go. So I'm going to hit OK. First, I'm going to check and make sure that my print is all centered in there, and it is. So we're ready to print. So now I have my sublimation paper in, and it is printing. So we'll see how well this turns out. Now as this is printing, I also wanted to show you the tank. So after charging, you can see that these ink levels have went down considerably. So after this is done printing, I'm just going to refill these tanks. I'm going to top them off with the ink that's left in my bottles. And here is the print coming out, and it looks perfect. So again, another successful sublimation printer setup. And like I said, this is a hack because this is an Epson EcoTank. This one is a 2840 that I have converted over to sublimation printing by adding sublimation ink. Please like my video, subscribe to my channel, and see links below.